Well, everybody, the conflict between the IDF and Hamas is continuing, with innocent civilians in both Israel and the Palestinians themselves, like the people who are not part of Hamas, who are just getting caught in the crossfire, mostly because of Israeli strikes and attacks, are continuing to suffer for it. It is getting worse and worse. Conditions are getting worse and worse. The Palestinians have had water, electricity, many different amenities cut off from the Gaza Strip. It's getting bad. It's getting pretty bad. The thing is, though, that instead of demonstrating any form of compassion, even as a way of a virtue signal, you would think that, in the same way that American politicians will virtue signal about how the deaths of civilians in overseas wars are unforeseen tragedies, you would think you'd see some similar type of virtue signal from higher-ups in the Israeli government. Hell, even that type of sentiment from, Israeli citizens who are in favor of Israel and the IDF continuing to fight Hamas. You would think you'd at least see some compassion, a virtue signal or two. But what's astonishing is that so many people, both in the government and in the citizenry of Israel, are not even willing to pretend like they feel bad for the dying children in Gaza. They aren't even willing to pretend. I don't know if anyone has a link to the compilation of Israelis dressing up as Palestinians and covering themselves in lipstick and ketchup to imitate and make fun of dead and bloodied Palestinians while they do their TikToks. Have you guys, does anybody have a link to one of those videos, a compilation of them? They're all over Twitter. If you see any pro-Palestine Twitter account, they'll have probably tweeted one of those. If anyone could get me a link, it would really help with the point I'm trying to make. But there's a lot of genuine lack of empathy for even the innocent people caught in the crossfire, mostly on the Israeli side. And one of the best examples of this has to be the propaganda Twitter accounts that are run by actual Israeli people and not just Christian Americans that are pro-Israel. One of the most notorious examples of this is Natalia Fadiv, who is an OnlyFans model that is also in the IDF. And she tweeted this: "When you're being mean to Israel, this is who you're being mean to." And it's her with her, I assume it's an AR and, in full uniform, doing the whole look how cute I am thing, looking up at the camera. She's also done a bunch of memes where it's her dancing over the bodies of dead Palestinians. That's the joke, is how you're supposed to interpret it. She's basically supposed to be an uwu cute hot girl who does OnlyFans and also is pro-genocide and in the IDF. She's literally a propagandist who uses sex appeal to push Zionism. Yeah. This based account quote tweeted it and ratioed the fuck out of her, thankfully, saying, "Oh, okay, good. I was worried for a sec that I was being mean to someone who isn't super fucking annoying." She calls herself gun waifu, yeah. Trying to appeal to the right-wing gun bros who want to see a woman touch a gun that immediately makes them come. Anyway, that aside, yeah, things here in America have gotten pretty fucked. The amount of pro-Israel rhetoric is pretty awful. Zan, this is what you were talking about. I only heard half of what you were asking for. Israeli TikTokers mocking embattled Palestinians goes viral in Israel. I like how they get their kids, they dress their kids up in racist, cosplay for their TikToks. I need to maintain how much of a, unbalanced situation this is for the bystanders on either side. I don't want to take away from the suffering of Israelis that get caught in the crossfire of this, because there have been Israelis who've died and they were innocent. I listen, being Israeli is not a crime. Morally, in my opinion, it is not. I don't believe it's a moral shortcoming to be Israeli. Whether you immigrated there, you live there, you're a settler, whatever, I don't think that's necessarily, like, if that's your life, that's your life. My issue is with the people that are bombing civilians. I don't think that just civilians in Israel deserve to be killed, taken hostage, executed by Hamas, as they have been. And I've seen lefties engaging in misinfo about this shit. That one girl who was at that party who ended up getting beheaded, and her body, I saw the video. Like the right or the left tried to claim on Twitter that there was no evidence that Hamas was responsible for her death. There was videos of her beheaded body being like carted around through the street. And it was verified to be her. You could tell from the clothing in particular, because it was what she was wearing in the photo from the event where she was captured. Like, and you had lefties claiming it wasn't real, and that it was like some other woman's body as a way to justify Hamas. I hate that shit. I don't like the justification of Hamas. Hamas is evil. But I want to clarify that the Palestinians and the Israelis that are getting caught in the crossfire of this are in very different situations. Does anyone have yes, I know exactly what to show as a demonstration of this. I know exactly what to show as a demonstration of like the disparity. It was a tweet that I quote tweeted. Wait, the post is unavailable now? No! No, it's gone now. Guys, the post is gone now. Maybe I got blocked. It might still be up, but maybe I just got blocked. Hold on, let's see. Yeah, it won't load in a private window. Okay. It was a tweet from the Jerusalem Post that, if I remember properly, says the following. Israelis are nervous and scared and anxious amidst the sound of Hamas shelling. But the anxiety is perfect opportunity for weight loss. Here is how you can take advantage to lose some pounds and get that perfect body, or something along those lines. It was unironically like, the start of it is, Israelis are scared of being bombed. Here's how you can use that fear to lose weight, to get that summer bod and get ready for bikini season. Like, it's like, it is insane, dude. Like, I need to be clear. The Palestinian citizens are not making TikTok videos making fun of the IDF. You're not seeing any of that, because they don't have internet power or phones to do that with. They don't have TikTok. That's you got to be pretty privileged to be able to do this when you're at war. Here's a screenshot of the tweet. Oh, you found it? Yeah! Here it is. Fears of rockets and missiles amid Israel's war with Hamas, putting millions of Israelis in constant state of anxiety and stress. But you can actually use this stress to lose weight and stay healthy. Hashtag Israel, hashtag Hamas terrorists, hashtag Gaza, hashtag weight loss. Massive fucking ratio. They deleted it. That explains why it was deleted, the fucking ratio. So, with all that in mind, it gets worse. House advances Tlaib censure resolution after vote to block it fails. The House voted Tuesday to advance a resolution to censure Democratic Representative Rashida Tlaib after a Democratic effort to block the measure failed, setting up an expected vote on final passage of the resolution Wednesday. Tlaib of Michigan, who is the first Palestinian-American woman to serve in Congress, is again facing Republican-led efforts to censure her over comments critical of Israel and in support of Palestinians amid Israel's war against Hamas. The resolution that advanced Tuesday was introduced by Georgia Representative Rich McCormick, The vote was 208 to 213, with 6 Republicans joining with Democrats to table the measure and 1 Democrat voting against the motion to table. On Tuesday evening, the House is also expected to consider a second censure resolution against Tlaib from Georgia Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene. Tlaib also defended herself against the censure attempts, arguing that they are an effort to silence her, and saying that her colleagues have resorted to distorting my positions in resolutions filled with obvious lies. Isn't it crazy how Marjorie Taylor Greene, who's always bitching about free speech, is now trying to silence one of her coworkers and keep them from being able to say their opinions that she doesn't like? Following the vote to advance the censure resolution, Tlaib delivered an emotional speech on the House floor and argued that her criticism of the Israeli government should not be conflated with anti-Semitism. Quote, "It is important to separate people and governments. No government is beyond criticism. The idea that criticizing the government of Israel is anti-Semitic sets a very dangerous precedent, and it's been used to silence diverse voices speaking up for human rights across our nation," she said. She grew emotional and had trouble speaking after she said, "I can't believe I have to say this, but Palestinian people are not disposable." Quote, "We are human beings just like anyone else," she said after a long pause, during which Democratic Representative Ilhan Omar of Minnesota stood up to comfort her and put her hands on Tlaib's shoulder as the Congresswoman braced herself against the podium. After the House voted to block a resolution from Greene to censure Tlaib last week, Greene put forward a new version of the resolution that drops a reference to a pro-Palestinian protest at the Capitol as an insurrection, which had made some Republicans uncomfortable. Yeah, Marjorie Taylor Greene tried to claim that a protest that happened on the street outside the White House, the place where literally all the most famous protests in Washington happen, tried to call it a unironic insurrection. Didn't really get far. Didn't really fly with Republicans, calling something way less bad than Jan 6 an insurrection. But McCormick's resolution is expected to have more support from Republicans because the language is narrower and more tailored to recent events. McCormick said on X Tuesday evening that he is temporarily closing his district office in Cumming, Georgia. Cumming. It's literally spelled Cumming. Due to serious threats of violence against his staff. It's not clear from the post that what the threats are related to. CNN has reached out to the congressman's office and U.S. Capitol Police to ask for further information. House Democratic leaders have been urging their members to vote to table or block the resolutions, but a number of Democrats have been critical of Tlaib over her defense of the pro-Palestinian chant "From the River to the Sea." So, "From the River to the Sea" is a pro-Palestine slogan. A lot of people are claiming it's anti-Semitic and that it actually argues instead the slogan is from the river to the sea, Palestine shall be free. Now, the Zionist or Zionist pro-Zionist interpretation of that is this means that you want Palestinians to take over Israel, take back all the land, and genocide the Israelis. I think maybe it's a little weird that they read that much into a slogan that just kind of says that Palestinians should be free. It seems maybe a little like projection when when Israel is currently doing a genocide on the Palestinians and they say this slogan that says the Palestinians want to be free would actually mean they'd want to come and genocide us. It reminds me of that one girl that I went to school with when I was in elementary school, and the day after Obama got announced to be the next president, she was crying at recess about how she thought that white people were going to be enslaved now as payback for slavery. That was crazy, dude. That's a core memory I'll never forget. Kind of reminds me of that. The Anti-Defamation League describes the chant "From the River to the Sea, Palestine will be free" as, quote, "an anti-Semitic slogan," and, quote, "rallying cry that has long been used by anti-Israel voices, including supporters of terrorist organizations such as Hamas." For those who don't know, the Anti-Defamation League is very pro-Israel. It's an extremely Zionist organization. So if you are anti-Israel or if something is anti-Israel, the Anti-Defamation League labels it as a hate thing. If you are, say, a publicly anti-Zionist figure, the Anti-Defamation League will label you anti-Semitic. And they have a lot of power. Like, the Anti-Defamation League, if they say that you're, like, hateful or anti-Semitic or something, people believe that. Large institutions believe that. It's pretty scary. And on top of that, there is a, what is that? What's that one thing? What's it called? There is a think tank that if you are an American politician and you dare to speak out against Israel and you have an election coming up, this organization will fund millions of dollars to your opposition to ensure you lose your election. Does anyone know the name of it? AI PAC. Yeah. So for people that don't know why so many American politicians are in favor of Israel publicly, it's because of AIPAC. Yeah. I always pronounced it like AIPAC, but yeah, I guess it's AIPAC is how it's supposed to be pronounced. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee, or AIPAC, is a lobbying group that advocates pro-Israel policies to the legislative and executive branches of the United States. One of several pro-Israel lobbying organizations in the United States, AIPAC states that it has over 100,000 members, 17 regional offices, and a vast pool of donors. Representative Brad Sherman, Democrat from California, has called AIPAC the single most important organization in promoting the U.S.-Israeli alliance. In addition, the organization has been called one of the most powerful lobbying groups in the United States. One critic, former Congressman Brian Beard, who had admired Israel since he was a kid, but became alienated from AIPAC, argued that when key votes are cast, the question on the House floor, troublingly, is often not what is the right thing to do for the United States of America, but how is AIPAC going to score this? He cited a 2009 resolution he opposed condemning the Goldstone report on civilian deaths. When we had the vote, I said, we have member after member coming to the floor to vote on a resolution they've never read, about a report they've never seen, and a place they've never been. Baird worries that AIPAC members and supporters believe that they're supporting Israel when they are actually backing policies such as the killing of civilians in Gaza, quote, that are antithetical to its highest values and ultimately destructive for the country. A criticism of AIPAC's proposal for tougher sanctions on Iran is that the primary incentive P5+P51 negotiators can give Iran to stop its nuclear program is reduction in the sanctions that have harmed Iran's economy. Yeah, so we basically need to maintain a balance of, like, we don't piss off Iran too much, but we also give them enough, like, we basically need to maintain a very careful balance because we don't want them to do nuclear research. We don't want them to develop nukes. That's what we're scared of. So, we're trying to keep a certain level of decorum and chillness with Iran. It's a complicated situation. AIPAC has been criticized, as being unrepresentative of American Jews who support Israel and supportive only of right-wing Israeli policy and viewpoints. A Pew Research poll found that only 38% of American Jews believe that the Israeli government is sincerely pursuing peace. 44% believe that the construction of new settlements damages Israel's national security. Among the best-known critical works about AIPAC is the Israel Lobby and U.S. Foreign Policy by University of Chicago professor John Mearsheimer and Harvard Kennedy School professor Stephen Walt. In the working paper and resulting book, they accuse AIPAC of being the most powerful and best-known component of the larger pro-Israel lobby that distorts American foreign policy. They write AIPAC's success is due to its ability to reward legislators and congressional candidates who support its agenda, and to punish those who challenge it. AIPAC makes sure that its friends get strong financial support from the many pro-Israel political action committees. Anyone who is seen as hostile to Israel can be sure that AIPAC will direct campaign contributions to his or her political opponents. The bottom line is that AIPAC, a de facto agent for a foreign government, has a stranglehold on Congress, with the result that U.S. policy towards Israel is not debated there, even though the policy has important consequences for the entire world. Basically, the issue is that in America, if you are a politician, no matter how popular it is among the voting populace, which it is, very popular among the average voter to be somewhat antagonistic towards Israel as an American politician. Not like most American Jews don't even support Israel. Like, most American Jews are not Zionists. It's all just virtue signaling coming out of the Israeli government. Zionism, Judaism, they're just not the same thing. That in mind, no matter how popular with the people it may be to be anti-Israel, if your opponent is going to be funded a shit ton, if you dare to speak out against Israel, you're going to be too scared to speak out against Israel. And we're honestly likely seeing that happen with Biden right now. Biden lately has been disappointingly pro-Israel. Disappointingly so. And it has been hurting his performance in polls, actually. This is actually quite scary. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Israel-Gaza war. Biden's support plummets to 17% among Arab Americans. It's dropped significantly among Gen Z. It's dropped significantly among just a particularly large amount of young people and people who are like more likely to vote Democrat, who are also more likely to have a decent position on the conflict like already. So it's been pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. We're seeing a pretty significant hit to Biden's polling numbers because of his reaction to this conflict. The people want him to be hard on Israel, but he can't be. At least from his perspective, he can't be, because Donald Trump, or whoever he ends up running against, will be funded an insane amount of money by AIPAC. The amount of attack ads that will be put out against him will be tens of millions of dollars more. You better believe AIPAC would put in everything. They would give their all if it came to a presidential election where the presidential incumbent is anti-Israel and there's a Republican running against him. They would fund the fuck out of that Republican. I don't know. I don't like what Biden's been doing with this conflict. I think he could be better, but I also can't blame him that much when this think tank is just one of many that will literally destroy your political career if you dare to have a good take on Israel publicly. Hell, Rashida Tlaib dared to be open about it. She dared to say the truth. She dared to just say what she believed anyway, and they're censuring her. It's political suicide to be anti-Israel. As a politician in America, you will be destroyed. You will be crushed. I'm afraid that U.S. support for Israel is not going anywhere.